All right, good afternoon, everyone, or maybe I should say good evening. We're coming to the end run here of our session, and Florida House members have not slowed down. Obviously, you've seen a busy week here in the Florida House. We've been delivering on promises like putting families first in our education system, getting every child reading on grade level by the year 2030, and passing a responsible budget that prepares Florida today for the problems of tomorrow. Yesterday, we passed the largest expansion of school choice in the nation off the House floor. Because of this, over 1 million Florida families who currently today do not have access to choice will have access to choice if the bill we passed yesterday becomes law. We firmly believe that now is the time to invest in the educational success of our kids. I mentioned this months ago during one of my speeches, but 88% of kids who didn't graduate from high school were struggling readers in third grade. Many of you heard Representative Dana Trabolsi, who presented her bill, House Bill 3, which is a priority of the House, which is specifically designed to help struggling readers across the state. While Florida has continued to make massive learning gains, year over year, particularly in reading, despite those gains, it would be 230 years if we remain on current trends before every struggling reader in the state is reading on grade level. That's an unacceptable outcome, which is why we passed House Bill 3, the New World's Reading Initiative, to help kids and dramatically change the trajectory of their life and set them on a pathway to prosperity. We're proud of that work. We look forward to continuing that conversation with the Florida Senate, as well as bringing our budget negotiations to a close. With that, I'll take your questions.
On insurance reform, Representative Rommel has called the property insurance situation in Florida a crisis. How important is it to get something passed? The House and Senate are not on the same page there. How important is it to get something passed there, as opposed to potentially something dying?
I think it's extremely important. I think there's no question at all that we're expecting that rates are going to go up based on what we're seeing with some of these insurance carriers who are going under. The statistics around the rise of litigation, particularly on roofs, and what you've seen. If I probably did a poll in here of your neighborhood and asked you whether or not there's anyone in your neighborhood who's gone door to door, knocked on your door, and asked you if you wanted a free roof from your insurance company, many of you probably would raise your hands. I know if I asked that of my friends, almost every single one of them, their hands went up. That's a crisis. That's a perversion in the system, and it needs to be stopped. It's why, particularly in the House bill, we focused a lot on that solicitation piece, because I think that's driving a lot of these. So I think it's vitally important that we reach an agreement.
What's your opinion on the Senate's unemployment bill, which they just passed a few minutes ago? Raise benefits by $100?
Yeah, you've asked that a number of times. I think that what our focus is on the House is getting people back to work. If you ask employers across the state, there was a sign I saw at a restaurant advertising to get cashiers for up to $17 or $18 an hour. If you look at nonprofits across the state, they're doing advertisements on Facebook and social media trying to get people to come back to work to fill a variety of positions. So we have a workforce out there, some of whom are not back to work. We need to be focusing on getting them back to work. We also have to realize that we have a broken workforce system. And I don't mean just the Connect system. We all can agree that the system didn't work. But I mean the actual boots on the ground, the network of individuals and systems that are supposed to be designed to help someone who wants to find a job or wants to find meaningful work to find that job inside their community. That is why we passed Representative Clay Yarborough, Representative Lauren Mello's bills a week ago to completely revamp our workforce system. That bill would have the most dramatic change of any workforce system in the United States. The Tampa Bay Times did a series of articles a couple of years ago about workforce across the state, particularly in Tampa Bay, where there's massive corruption, where people weren't getting jobs. Our focus has been on creating a place in which they can do that.
We're right now with negotiations with the Senate on the extending postpartum care for Medicaid.
I expect us to make another pass, probably not this evening, but certainly probably in the morning, this evening or in the morning, on healthcare. The House is committed to wanting to get that done this year, which is obviously important to me. It's important to our members. So we'll continue that conversation with them, but I expect another pass soon.
6 months too low? The Senate also 6 months, which is half of what you want. Is that too low? Or?
Well, the House is committed to continuing to fight for that position. John, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
What are you going to do with gambling?
Well, we're going to see, if the governor signs a compact. I understand that they're close to an agreement and sign that compact. So once we actually get to see the words on the page, I would anticipate that, there may be a special session to address those issues.
It's not
I'm sorry?
You can't get it done in the
During the legislative session? No, I wouldn't want to do that. Look, we've got a lot of work in front of us to bring this in for a landing, both on the budget front and on the policy front. I think that there are, in addition to the budget, which of course is wildly important to the state, there's a lot of good policy that is moving through the Florida House and Florida Senate. To take our eye off that ball right now in the last 2 weeks, would be an injustice to the state.
So I just want to try to understand what you're saying. So basically, raising the rate to just at minimum wage, we somehow think that people are not going to go out and want to take jobs. I mean,
Are you talking about the $13 or are you talking about the $3.75?
375, if you do the math, it comes up to about minimum wage. And so I'm trying to figure out why paying people minimum. I mean, do you think people are lazy? Do you think that they would rather take another?
No, you said that. I didn't say that, Gary. What I'm saying is that there's a lot of jobs that are open out there that for whatever reason, we're not getting people back to work. Our focus should be on getting our people back to work because either they don't know that the job is open, which, by the way, I think is a real problem, which is why we did the workforce bill, which I don't think anybody's written on yet. But we did a huge workforce bill, Gary. It's like a 100-page bill that lays out our complete plan about workforce. I would love to have somebody write about it, to talk about what we're doing to try to revolutionize this, because we care about people who want to get a job. And yet, Gary, despite that bill, every time I come, it's only a question about the 375, never a question about what the Florida House's vision on workforce, which we have outlined. We put up a blueprint and everything to get people to try to look at it. So again, I welcome the opportunity to talk to you about that bill, should you choose to. Go ahead.
Today's Earth Day, a lot of preemption bills are moving through. Some say with local environmental initiatives, on clean energy, on renewable energies, protecting farms and large solar facilities, and then the cruise ship. I mean, is this amount to an anti-environmental agenda moving through the House?
Yeah, that's a tough case to make when you take a look at our budget negotiation, where we're putting money, significant amounts of dollars into Florida's environment, which have gone up over the last several years. I think one of the great contributions of Governor DeSantis to that, changing that conversation, was the increase in environmental funding, whether that's in Florida Forever or in the Everglades or what we've seen done in the Springs. Obviously, you saw the House's budget where we also had significant priorities in beach renourishment into our state parks. So, time and time again, you have seen the legislature, demonstrate literally in dollars and cents our commitment to Florida's environment.
So what's going on with the funding of HB3, the New World's Books Initiative? I saw it during conference. It popped up in the higher ed budget. I was kind of confused by that.
Yeah, so we're, a part of that is, so you have the higher ed, which is the delivery of the book system, the actual hard copy books to the kids, and then you have the wraparound, right, making sure that the parents are engaged, that they're reading to their kids, the book boot camps that I talked about several months ago. So we're looking into higher education to get someone to own that issue, to deliver that to kids.
Can I ask you a little bit larger on the budget issue? There seems to be like a lack of momentum right now, a lack of urgency to move forward. You have a few days left. Are you kind of looking at maybe patching together a more, halfway budget that you will come back to, especially when you have federal stimulus that also has to be doled out, that perhaps you give the governor more authority to distribute that in the government? Or maybe even if you have a special session on gambling, you finish the budget.
No, we intend to finish the budget during the regular session, so that's not an issue. But to answer your question, because you said, is there seems to be a lack of urgency. I actually think it's an evidence of thoughtfulness, John. I think that what you're maybe not seeing in the way of fireworks is because I think that is reflective of my relationship with President Simpson, with the current relationship between the House and the Senate. I think our budget chairs, Senator Stargell, Representative Trumbull, obviously thoughtful people who are being thoughtful about the offers. You've also seen in years past, right, if we're all being honest, there's kind of fake offers, right? This is kind of a pound your chest kind of offer. It's not a real thing. It's a fake move. You haven't seen that this year. Representative Trumbull and Senator Stargell haven't done that. Certainly I haven't done that with the president or vice versa. So I think what you're seeing is really thoughtfulness on behalf of the budget chairs.
If you do have another session, what unfinished business would you also be taking up besides the compact? Is there anything else that you might pick up?
Look, we intend to get all our business done during the regular session. I think that the only thing that would make sense off the top of my head would be there are two gaming bills that have been filed in the House and the Senate, one on a gaming commission, the other on decoupling. So should the governor sign a compact in the next several days, I think one of the discussion points that the chambers need to have is, well, does it really make sense to deal with these issues now when we're going to be dealing with gaming? Why don't we just deal with it all together? So I think that would be a valid thing to consider bringing into a call on gaming, but not other issues outside of that. Christine, go ahead. I got to give it to your wife, Gary, sorry.
On tort, it seems like you started the session with a COVID-19 tort bill, but along the way there have been some other tort proposals that may not have been as business friendly. I know you have civil enforcement in House Bill 969. Some business people say that's untenable.
Which one is that, data privacy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you kind of talk to me, is this a tort reform friendly legislature? Is this a child bar?
Yeah, I love that question, right? What kind of legislature is this? Not one that you can easily put in a box, right? So you asked about, reform, right? So you look at COVID liability and we say, look, we have to provide, certainty for business owners who are doing the right thing. That means they need to have significant protections. All right, what about healthcare? Well, healthcare has more responsibility to treat people's health, so maybe a little less strict than the folks who own the hardware store, but still we have to be responsive to the fact that this is a 100-year pandemic and we're learning as we go. So let's create a bill that does that. And then we look to, the data privacy bill to say, if we truly believe that your data is truly yours, that you own it, then we should be respective of that and say, look, how are you going to police that? So you talked about the cause of action there, right? Should a private citizen be able to say to a big corporation, hey, I asked you not to collect my data, and you did it anyway, or I asked you not to collect it. Not only did you collect it, you sold it without my permission. A private citizen should be able to do that, in my opinion.
Something you're willing to fall on your sword over in that particular?
Well, I didn't plan on falling on my sword at all, but I think that it is an important topic, and I think that it is important that people have that remedy, which is why we have put it in the bill. So I think the idea that, I think what you're not going to be able to do, right, is be able to apply a one-size-fits-all model to this legislature. We're going to take issues individually. We're going to evaluate them individually. No one is here with a particular jersey that says, I'm going to be on this side of the issue on all things. You're going to evaluate them specifically as they pertain to that issue.
How sure are you that the Senate is going to go with this?
So you've asked for $200 billion for the workforce IT solution from the federal, out of the federal dollars. The Senate came back, did not include that in the proposal. How are you going to reconcile that difference? And also, how confident are you that the federal government's going to approve the WEO waiver that you're asking?
So two separate questions. So on the tech piece, obviously that's a budget conversation which we're having. Obviously that redo is not only important to people who are currently in the Connect system and looking for a job, but also very, very important to that workforce bill that all of you are super eager to take a look at, because it really will change how we do that. Right now, since you asked, Kirby, somebody goes on to the Connect site to say I'm unemployed, they have to go somewhere else to look for a job. That makes no sense. 0 sense. In other states, you go into a place, you say, I need my unemployment because I just lost my job. Hey, while I'm here, I'm going to take this survey. You're going to find out what I'm qualified to do. You're going to tell me what jobs are available. If I'm really interested in a job but I'm not qualified, you're going to tell me how I can get qualified, where that credential is, where I can go, whether there are scholarships. All of that should happen in one place, which is one of the things our workforce bill is about. It's what that $200 million is also about. And as to your second question, the federal waiver, what we did in the workforce legislation was essentially say, these are all the things that we can do as a state to reform this process, which is more than any state has tried to do. But there are also some things that come with strings that we can't break from the federal government. We think that they hamstring us from doing things that are more innovative in the future. So our ask of them is, look, we believe that we can deliver a workforce system with better outcomes and better accountability and get people jobs in Florida without your strings. And we're willing to put our name on the line to do so. So if we can do it, awesome. You should continue to give us this federal money. And if we can't, well, you can always take the money back. So that's what the federal waiver is about. I think it's a good ask, and I hope that the Biden administration really considers it.
Last question.
Prohibition against arresting children under 7. I think it was a standalone bill.
Yeah, I think two things. Number one, the 7 actually comes from last year. So that was an agreement that passed off the House floor last year between myself, Senator Bracy. I understand. Senator Bracy's was at 7, which was consistent with the agreement that we had last year. So that's why you asked about 7. That's why it's at 7. And as far as you said, is that as far as you're willing to go? Let's talk about what's actually in it, right? So one of the things that bill does is collects data about use of force, use of lethal force, serious bodily injury from all the law enforcement agencies across the state. That's not currently mandated in any way. I think there are over 400 law enforcement agencies in the state. So it says you have to report that information to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. That's consistent with this House has done in the past in criminal justice. We passed the most expansive criminal justice data transparency bill in the United States a couple years ago under Speaker Corcoran. So that will expand that to include use of force. It also includes minimum policy standards on the chokehold, on duty to intervene, on duty to render aid in law enforcement, which of course have been considerable topics. And then on investigations regarding officers using lethal force, it creates a kind of a minimum standard for those investigations, right? There are a lot of agencies throughout the state. Some of them have done their own internal investigations about officer-involved shootings and so forth. I think you've seen that model start to change, but what this says is, look, you have to have at least another independent law enforcement agency who conducts, at a minimum, a parallel investigation and issues an independent report. And all of this is designed really for one goal, and that is to make sure that people have confidence in the policing that's in their community. I certainly, no secret that I am a huge supporter of law enforcement. I said it in November. I also said that my door and my mind would be open to good ideas. I think the ideas in this bill are good. I think they're also consistent with the fact that, I think it was the Wall Street Journal, 90% of Americans want at least the same or more policing in their community. This is consistent with that, but also make sure that we're continuing to build faith and trust in every community. Thank you all. Appreciate it.